Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone is well. This is Robert T. Green, the CEO of Pre-Post Game, doing the next edition of Where We Are in the Sports Business Today, presented by Robert T. Green, the Players Rep. To get this quickly out the way, for those who don't know what Pre-Post Game is, it does. Pre-Post Game develops athletes. We have the functionality that drives their business. We maximize their earning potential. We minimize their risk. Trust the facts, not the process. So just to jump right into it, I know it's been a while, but people don't want to realize what's going on in the sports business is so much that I apologize that I can't get on as much as I once was, simply because it's too much to deal with. And basically, as a representative and an advocate, you will find in this space that there's only one person that actually has achieved and has done that successfully, and you're listening to his voice right now. When you are an advocate for someone in specifically situations where you know that a wrong is being done, it is extremely hard to actually operate on the other side as well as representative, because the bottom line is, at the end of the day, there are people that want things to stay status quo, so change does not happen. So as a representative, you have to acknowledge that and understand that when you're basically going about doing your business the way it needs to be done. So again, I understand how that works. I know what that consists of, and at the end of the day, that's the lane that I stand in alone, essentially, as an advocate and a representative. Now that's out the way. We're going to talk about the Les Miles situation, but it's not just a Les Miles situation, because it's not about that one particular coach or what happened in the past. It's about the history of the NCAA, for basically hiding or protecting or allowing certain things to go on against the best interest of the student athlete, male and female, for decades at a time, all under the mantra, trust the process, not being held accountable, not these athletes not feeling like they have any type of resource or support, uneducated, uninformed parents in this space basically not understanding what this business really is about at the detriment of their own child. So we're going to address that. Dak Prescott got his new contract with the Cowboys. For those that are followers of this actual page, recognize what I said a few weeks back, and I've always said pertaining to the actual athlete, the NFL, particularly when it comes to contract negotiations and what exactly how it works in that scenario. But if you listen to the powers that be, the media, if you take, for example, a Todd McShay and a Mel Kiper, just a month ago or less, they were saying Justin Fields should return back to school. And it's literally a week later, in the same breath, said that Justin Fields is going to be the number 3 overall pick. So in a sport where the average career 2.5 years, and for those that don't understand that this can happen, you can look no further than Dwayne Haskins 2 years ago, that if you're not mentally and physically prepared to be a pro athlete, no matter when you get drafted, you can be removed instantly. This is not like back in the day where the last person that got a contract that was so large that regardless of how bad they were, they had to eat it. And that was Sam Bradford, the former University of Oklahoma quarterback, way back when. The previous year after that, Cam Newton, under the new salary cap in 2011, is where he actually became the actual salary cap model where the rookie wage scale was in place. So therefore, for all the agencies tell you all the time that, oh, I'm going to do this and do that, reality is that contract is already written. There's some language in there that be taken out, but at the end of the day, it's not worth the amount and the percentages that a lot of these guys are compensating these so-called representatives for. Trust the facts, not the process. And again, for more information on that, if you're looking to actually hire or retain sports business management agent services, we also help you interview, vet, and monitor those actual service providers. So trust the facts, not the process on that. So if you said, again, literally come back to school, and 1 week and the next week said they're the number 3 overall pick, when that money is guaranteed, who in their right business mind, if you're in business, we're talking about now, if you have an opportunity to attain $34 million, and basically you say, no, I'm not going to do it, I'm going to come back again and try it later, in a sport that's physical, dangerous, where the actual insurance only lasts 5 years after the fact of when you retire, if you become vested in that space. There's so many basically things that most athletes that spend 15 to 20 years of trying to secure the bag have no idea what goes into their own CBA, which is collective bargaining agreement, and their own future of the National Football League, NBA, NHL, MLB, etc. And yet, at the end of the day, you want to continue to, like I said, trust the process. It's a sad state of affairs, especially with technology. As Pre-Post Games created the only sports business academy digital database in the world. Again, I do not mind saying this, and I will continue to say this. We are at the forefront of this entire situation pertaining to athletes being paid, pertaining to athletes skipping the bowl games, understanding their worth, pertaining to name, image, and likeness protection, intellectual property protection. We were the first to do that as well. We see a lot of people that is talking about the NBA G League, the JBL, now overtime, OTE. I just want you guys to know how all this stuff started. You're looking at them. And at the end of the day, it's not about, he say, she said, because once again, when you're in a certain space, what you try to do, you don't want to necessarily align yourself with people that, again, can be either part of the problem or the solution, especially if they haven't thought this process all the way through. And so what we do know is that the NCAA is not what they tell you that they are. We do know that the education that they're telling these athletes are getting is not true. We do know that the actual athlete is a lot more valuable than anybody in society, specifically in NCAA, is willing to let you know. And that's why we say, invest in yourself, not the industry. Know your worth. And we're the ones that basically help you understand that, position you in that, and ensure that you're responsible, respected, and remembered. So now about Dak Prescott. So the deal that he just got. And once again, for those that was talking about Dak, he got injured. Let me ask you this. Is Trevor Lawrence the #1 overall pick coming out this year? Would Trevor Lawrence been the #1 overall pick coming out last year? Did Trevor Lawrence have shoulder surgery on his labrum, which nobody knew when he actually hurt it? So essentially, he's coming off of a surgery after Dak. Correct me if I'm wrong. When you play a sport, specifically football, I want to educate you people on these things. And this is why it's so bad that when you go to college, there's a thing called cortisone that's actually shot in your shoulder. A lot of times, athletes never know anything about that. Parents are not aware of that. These coaches, these schools ask you to take that. They don't really inform you really what the end all is, what that comes to that actual shot. But if you take that shot when you're younger and injured, and then all of a sudden now it's a steroid. It's a steroid that's going to make your actual muscle feel like everything is A-okay. It's perfectly fine. You don't have any issues. You're great. But essentially what you're doing, you're tearing down that muscle. And that muscle eventually is going to deteriorate. Now, if you are one of those athletes that are pursuing a pro career and want to get to that next level, if you talk about contracts and your MRIs and X-rays and your body of work, once those documentation get to the actual National Football League, NBA, NHL, MLB, you're going to be penalized for that. They're not going to look at your X-rays and say, well, you know what? We're so proud and we're so happy that he played through this the entire time that we're going to reward him with a contract long term because he was so smart. She was so smart that basically they allowed a school who literally is making money off of them to put something in their body that's going to cost them money in the long run. You see how asinine that actual statement just sounded? But that's exactly what it plays out to be in this space. And for the fact is that most athletes only going to do what the coaches tell them to do because they believe the school has their best interests in mind. This process continues to repeat themselves. The high school and the college level athlete is the most uneducated, unrepresented, uninformed labor base in the world. I'm going to say that again. The high school player and the collegiate player is the most uneducated, uninformed, unrepresented labor force in the world. And the fact of the matter is that when you talk about what's going to happen at the end, and you see all these guys, unfortunately, like Vincent Jackson or Louis Nix pass away, that these people are so insensitive that midway talking about how this guy passed away in the article, they could quickly return to how many games he won or lost at Notre Dame. Not speaking on why he is dead, because we know what that is. Again, mental health is wealth. And when you live a life as an athlete, and you're told by all these people in this industry that the only thing that matters to them is how hard you work and train, how many games you win, and how much money you can help make them make, essentially, that when you no longer can do that, you don't find it or find a reason to wake up in the morning. You don't feel like your worth, your life matters. And it's a sad state of affairs, and I'm speaking from experience. Pre-post game, when we first started in 2015, one of our main mantras was at that. Actually, again, talking about your levels of understanding who you are and your well-being in a model of 1 to 5, from basically 1 being the best level and 5 being the worst. And then, like I said, when you get to 1, how do you feel? Like I said, what's making you feel good about yourself at that 1? Your self-worth, your self-care, your feeling about your body, your mind. And as you go further up, what gets you to that higher level? 5, what makes you angry, what makes you upset, what makes you feel unworthy of those things. And then what you try to do is you try to recognize those things when they happen, and you feel it in your body. You either try to increase the things that they have to get you to the 1 and decrease the things that get you to the 5. And again, that's a mental health tool and technique that we apply to our actual athletes and help them understand and acknowledge in their own livelihood. So again, it doesn't matter. It could be friends, family, coaches. It could be, fraternity members. It could be all those things. Who put you between a 1 and a 5? And again, basically acknowledge and bring those closer to keep you to the 1, and basically remove those to get you to the 5. Now, again, with that being said, in this space, you're talking about yes men. So again, first thing that the guy do is understand what's in their best interest, because that same 1 that you feel good about could be the ones that push you off that cliff, and that same 5 could be the ones that basically save your life simply because you don't understand what they're trying to help you with. So again, it goes back to basically understanding who you are, knowing who you are as a person outside of the game first and foremost, and then basically applying those things to your day-to-day life for long-term generational wealth, transition succession planning, and mental health and success. So that's kind of where that is. And again, I apologize for jumping all around right now, but as I said, there's so many things that are going on that essentially, as an athlete that comes through this space, and parents and athletes are putting money and time, and it's business sense. You're going to put 20 years into an industry that literally going to return ROI, return of investment is a business term, going to give you about 2.5 to 5 years total. And with that 2.5, 5 years total, how much revenue are you going to retain in that? How much generational wealth are you going to be able to accomplish in that? Again, if you spend 20 years doing something, what makes you think after the 20 years that literally you're going to start doing something the next day differently and you're going to be successful with that? The odds of that happening is slim to none. So you have to be well-rounded. You have to get professional development. You have to get character development. You have to understand transition successional planning. At pre-post game, we talk about start with the end in mind. So that's kind of how we do things. We evaluate you, who you are as an athlete. We tell you what you need to know, not what you want to hear. And the reality is a lot of people making decisions based off of what they hear on TV and what they think they know and they don't understand. I mentioned Justin Fields earlier. Tom McShay says come back to school for free, and then 3 weeks later says, oh yeah, he's the number 3 overall pick, which is a guaranteed $34 million, unless he does something to violate his contract, i.e. Dwayne Haskins. So knowledge is power, know your worth. And so at the end of the day, for those that want to know more, like I said again, at the end of the day, we do consulting, we do sports business management, we do transition succession planning, we do brand development. So again, everything you're hearing and seeing right now that's going on in the world about the changes in sports pertaining to the NCAA, the College Bill of Rights, you're looking at how all this started right here, established in 2015. And if you know anything about the society, the way we look no further than Colin Kaepernick in the NFL. As much as the NFL doesn't like the fact of how things turned out specifically, but what Colin Kaepernick has done, even with basically not getting his job back, he allowed the NFL, in particular his former employer, to put $250 million towards social justice reform. Now, once again, at the end of the day, they would rather pay $250 million than to say Colin Kaepernick is right. But at the end of the day, if you understand business, that's it's an end to a means. I mean, it's means to an end. So the bottom line is that the mission was accomplished. Yes, you want to be able to play football, but his actual plight, his actual direction, his actual sacrifice for his job has gone a lot further than many would like to know and understand. And I kind of equate that to what we're doing over here at pre-post game. Everything that we do is strategic and is based off what we do, including the name pre-post game. As any athlete knows, the most important part of our actual day in that actual sport is the pregame. We usually eat the same thing. We usually sleep the same way the night before, do the same regiments over and over and over again. If those things change, kind of makes it difficult on us. And the same thing when it comes to the post game. If you have a bad game and you don't basically get your composure about yourself, you don't understand what's going on, you start to speak and think things that literally can get you in trouble, then you have problems. So once again, you want to become well-rounded in understanding that before you speak, before you do things, before you actually make decisions that can get you caught up, that you pay attention to what you're saying, pay attention to what you're doing, and then make sure when you do it that you're confident, so at the end of the day you can move forward going from there. So again, my name is Robert T. Green, the CEO of Pre-Post Game. Pre-Post Game develops athletes. We have a functionality that drives their business. We're here to educate, empower, protect the athletes and the family's best interests alone. You guys be well, be blessed, and have a great day.